This is He Knows His Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. Listen, folks, Terrence Crawford, each and every moment, he's becoming more of what we would call a C-sider or a D-sider. He said it again. He's becoming more and more of what we call a C-sider and a D-sider. This dude is disgruntled, man. I keep telling people that he's miserable and he's insecure, man, in his B-side role. Shout outs to the Smoking Schmunk 83. Let me say it again. Shout outs to Smoking Schmunk 83. He's the one that gave me the term Bud Man fan. Let me say it again. Shout outs to Smoking Schmunk 83 because he gave me the term Bud Fan Man or Bud Man fan. However the fuck you want to say that shit. It's like whatever the fucking fart his name is. However the fuck you want to say that shit, right? You know, I like to shout out myself. I don't know about other people in other channels because they don't understand, man. Your subs are the reasons why you're here. So, you know, you want to definitely give respect to your fans. You know what I'm saying? Give respect to your subs because without them, you don't have a channel. Let me say it again. Without them, you don't have a channel. So you give props to them. I'm always doing this. Like I said, He Knows His Sport is a trendsetter. So I'm always trendsetting in that regard. Hopefully these other channels follow suit and copy this because I know they copy other shit that I do. But anyways, hear me and hear me well. Listen, man. Terrence Crawford is becoming more and more each day a C-sider and a D-sider. This dude, he doesn't know what he wants to do, man. And his disgruntled, miserable, and insecure as fuck self. He doesn't know if he wants to sit there and talk shit about Errol the Truth Spence. He doesn't know if he wants to sit here and continue to fight low-level bum bash competitions. This motherfucker don't know what he wants to do. But one thing I do know is this. Bob Arum stay shitting on this motherfucker. I told you guys this from the jump. Bob Arum has no respect for Terrence Crawford. Because he flat out the other day and came out and said this motherfucker has a trash and a garbage pay-per-view with Amir Glass Chin Khan. And Bob Arum is trying to preserve Terrence Crawford. He's forcing Terrence Crawford to duck Errol the Truth Spence. I seriously believe that Terrence Crawford wants that fight. I don't see that Terrence Crawford himself, I don't see a duck in him. Just like the way that he said no in regards to Errol the Truth Spence, right? And his damn Bud Man fans and his damn Bud Tards and his damn Bud Light fanboys, right? And his Terrence Crawford, you know what I'm saying, man crushes are sitting here and justifying the bullshit. Terrence Crawford made it very clear that Errol the Truth Spence is not ducking him as well, too. So it's a mutual thing and a mutual respect from the jump. Just like when they met together that first time. They have a mutual respect for one another. Errol the Truth Spence said that, you know what I'm saying, he's not a close friend with Terrence Crawford, but they talk. Terrence Crawford has been the one that's been getting extra stupid. And not only that, because, you know, he's that Negro that has to fall in line, you know what I'm saying? He's that Uncle Tom motherfucker. You got Bob Arum that's sitting here and basically positioning himself out of the fight. He's positioning his fighter out of the fight. He's sitting here trying to act like this is a Tyson Fury and a Deontay Wilder situation. This is what's comical to me. This is what's laughable because how can you compare those dynamics with Errol the Truth Spence versus Terrence Crawford? In that dynamic, the reason why you could see that first fight was 50-50 was because Tyson Fury had some leverage going into that. He was a lineal champion, right? He wasn't technically no champion, but we could understand the lineal title, right? Because no one beat the man. So you could justify it, right? And Deontay Wilder has one belt, the WBC belt, but he has the super belt, right? But you could justify that. You know what I'm saying? That made sense for them to do 50-50 and then the winner gets 60-40. You can't run that same promoting and marketing old school bullshit for Spence versus Crawford. It makes absolutely no sense. It's troglodytism and classic dodism at its truest and its most properest levels. Because Spence has two belts and they're new. He's the IBF and the WBC champion. Let me say it again. And the new. The IBF and the WBC champion to Terrence Crawford's obsolete belt, the WBO. Now let me educate you guys on boxing a little bit. The belts that's been around, WBC, WBA, IBF, these motherfuckers been around for eons, dog. Let me say it again. They've been around for eons. You know what I'm saying? WBO came after the fact, man. WBO's only been around 20 plus years, man. Y'all do y'all fucking research on this. This is why this belt gets the IBO treatment. That's how the IBO was. It came way after the fact, and it wasn't a belt that stood on anything. That's why it became obsolete. The WBO soon to become an obsolete belt. Remember, He Knows the Sport was the first one to tell you this shit. And what you have to understand is Terrence Bud Crawford brings nothing to the table. The motherfucker sold 98K in the Amir Khan fight. You know, but Bob Arum tried to lie and make this shit go as high as 120 to 150K. But the real numbers was 98, barely 100. Errol the True Spence is pushing close to 350 after he just did 300 to 400 in the Mikey Garcia fight. That's a sellable fighter. That's over 3 times the numbers that Terrence Bud Crawford is doing. So basically, from a marketable standpoint, Errol the True Spence is 3 times more valuable. And from a fighting standpoint, Errol the True Spence has 2 belts to Terrence Bud Crawford's 1 belt. At this point, it should be a 75 to 25 split. Let me say it again. It should be a 75 to 25 split. So when Errol the True Spence is being nice to your ass and saying 60-40, he's doing that as a favor to your fucking ass. Now, Bob Arum is talking this fighter out of the fight by saying 50-50 and then the winner is 64. That shit ain't gonna fucking happen. You know what Al Haymon is doing? Oh, okay. You want to act on this fuck shit? That fight ain't next. Now we're gonna fight Danny Garcia, or we're gonna fight somebody else. The fight ain't fucking next. That's what they basically saying. And that's the truth of the fact of the matter, folks. And folks don't get this shit. Why do you think Errol the True Spence is doing all of this? Do you understand that this reminds you? Shout outs to Latex Wilson. Today's a shout out day. You know what I'm saying? Because I shout out my subs. He said this is Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua 2.0. Deontay Wilder's doing all of the heavyweight lifting, fighting all of the top fighters, while Anthony Joshua is sitting here and bullshit after bullshit after bullshit. Terrence Bud Crawford is another Anthony Joshua. He will be exposed like Anthony Joshua. That's if Errol the True Spence ain't the one to expose him already. There's going to be an Andy Ruiz type that's going to expose this fucker. Because I told you guys, this motherfucker is not legit at 147. When you fight a lame duck Jeff Horn, which is basically a way for you to just get a belt. It's basically like a step aside fight when you think about it. Because we knew Jeff Horn ain't going to bring shit to the fucking table. He's just there to be rolled the fuck over like a mat. Let me say it again. He's there to be rolled over like a fucking mat. Then you go around and fight a guy. Listen to this. Shout outs to Khalil Nebit, because he brought this shit up. A fucking gimp. A guy that's one-legged, that got shot in his fucking leg. You know what I'm saying? And not only did he get shot in the fucking leg, this motherfucker got shot in the way to where he's damn near paraplegic, man, or a disabled motherfucker. Right? And he took you to 12 rounds. Took you to task. Almost beat your ass up and won the fucking fight. A lot of people need to do their research on Jose Benavidez. Bob Arum took him and went spit his ass out when he got shot in the leg. Because the type of shooting that he got in the leg. This dude had a pedigree and an amateur background like nobody's business. This is why he could have seriously beat the shit out of Terrence Bud Crawford. And all that shit that he was talking, he had Terrence Bud Crawford exposed. If he had 2 legs, that would have been Terrence Bud Crawford's first loss. And all this Bud man fanism and all of this Terrence Bud Crawford fanboy man crush and all this Bud Light fanboy bullshit would have been like this. So we've already seen Terrence Bud Crawford exposed. This is why I'm laughing. Oh, Sean Constipated Porter exposed the fraud, DeSoto Duck. That's what classic Dose and Troglodyte say. That's what fake ass Errol the True Spence fans say. That's what Terrence Bud Crawford fanboy man crushers say. That's what these classic Dose and these Troglodytes say. That's what Rudy Poo and Plum Plum brains say. That's what these brain full of mush and brainwashed dodo heads say. They don't know shit about fucking boxing. You know, I'm always channeling the great Roger Mayweather. You don't know shit about boxing. Because they don't want to sit here and talk about how Terrence Bud Crawford got exposed in the Jose Benavidez fight. Go watch that fight. Motherfucker was getting touched up upstairs and downstairs like nobody's business. Let me say it again. Motherfucker was getting touched upstairs and downstairs like nobody's business. That's why Errol the True Spence laughed at his ass. And Terrence Bud Crawford wanted Errol the True Spence to have a close fight so that he could regurgitate that nonsense. Let me say it again. Terrence Bud Crawford wanted Errol the True Spence to have a close fight so he could regurgitate that nonsense. But this ain't even about Errol the True Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford. It's more so Bob Arum than him not knowing his fucking place without Haymon. Remember? That's why the fight with Mayweather and Pacquiao got delayed the way it did. Because Bob Arum had to fucking eventually toe the line. This is what's happening in this scenario here. Bob Arum's going to have to eventually toe the line. We know now, it's fully announced. I'm glad Errol the True Spence did that, because you got to follow what Mayweather told you. No fucking rematch, dog. Let me say it again. Like Mayweather told you, no fucking rematch. You won that fight definitively, 9-3, at worst 8-4. None of this 7-5 bullshit. So motherfuckers say it's a draw. No. Go back and rewatch the fucking fights. As if you have the true boxing eye test. Errol the True Spence won that bitch 9-3, 8-4 at worst. He outbrawled the brawler. Another fight that Errol the True Spence beat a guy at his own game and won that motherfucker. That's the truth of the fact of the matter. So fight Danny Garcia, continue to do the heavyweight lifting, and clean out the fucking division. Trust and believe that fight is going to be nowhere near the Sean Porter fight. Sean Porter's is a, you know what I'm saying, come forward, ineffective aggression style of a pressure fighter. He's a brawler, a backyard brawler. You know what I'm saying? In shape street fighter. So when he fights, he's going to make that shit rough and rugged. That's not going to be the case with Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia don't let his hands go. He's fucking a simple ass counterer. Right hand, left hook, right hand, left hook. Trust me, man. That's going to be a chess type of fight that Errol the True Spence is going to out-chess this motherfucker. Because while Errol the True Spence is going to be playing chess in the ring, Danny Garcia is going to be playing fucking checkers. It's going to be a lot easier for Errol the True Spence to dispatch Danny Garcia, because it's basically a movement of you knowing how to counter. You know what I'm saying? It's movements that boxers expect. You can't expect Sean Porter's movements because they're awkward as fuck. And they're ineffective as fucking constipated as fuck. But Danny Garcia, he's going to be able to see his shit a mile away. Trust and believe that. That fight is going to be a lot cleaner. But Terrence Bud Crawford, Bob Arum, this motherfucker right here is basically selling his fighter out of the fight. He's pricing his fighter. He's pricing himself and his fighter out of the fucking fight. You can't say 50-50 when your fighter don't stand on nothing but sitting there and going fishing somewhere. This motherfucker's fishing somewhere because he can't get quality opponents. Don't sell me on Kavaliauskas. That's bullshit. Who the fuck is Mean Green Machine? If I blinked my eyes, I thought I was thinking of the Incredible Hulk. Because I thought that that's the name of a Marvel character. Let me say it again. I thought I was thinking of the Incredible Hulk because I thought that was a Marvel character, man. This is what they're bringing out of the ass, out of the woodworks, to have Terrence Bud Crawford fight. But people don't understand that. So, like I said before, Errol the True Spence is in that Deontay Wilder and Mayweather conundrum. He's doing all of the heavyweight lifting, getting all of the catch-22 drama and criticisms, because clearly it's his era, while Sean Constipated Porter is sitting here and fighting duds after duds after duds. Low-level bum bashes, low-level fucking competition, which is the staple and the standard of fucking Top Rank. They've done this with Vasily Lomachenko, and they've done this with Tyson Fury. But guess what? You fight enough bum bashes and you fight enough low-level competition, you know what ends up happening? Your ass gets exposed, motherfuckers. Let me say it again. You fight enough low-level competition, enough low-level bum bashes, somebody's going to have your number stylistically. The styles makes for fights, and somebody's going to expose your ass. Bud just got nothing but 2 or 3 more elite fights in him, dog. This is why Bob Arum is putting this motherfucker on the shelf. Now, I'm going to rant a little bit, because I need motherfuckers to understand I keeps the foot on the what? On the necks. I keeps the foot on the what? On the necks. And I apply what? Unlimited pressure, because pressure does what? It busts his fucking pipes. Why these haters and these trolls, these ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric, these classic dotes and these troglodytes, these Rudy Poo and these plum brains, these fake ass Errol the True Spence fans, and these Terrence Bud Crawford fanboy man crushes are sitting here working overtime. He knows the sport works double overtime. Let me say it again. While they are working overtime, he knows the sport is working double overtime. That's what the Tibetan Mastiff in me, dog. I don't fucking play. And I apply what? Unlimited pressure. Because pressure does what? It busts his fucking pipes, folks. Listen, man. Terrence Bud Crawford has 2 to 3 more elite fights in him. This is why Bob Arum doesn't want him to be tested. Bob Arum out of his mouth said, oh, he can't fight Sean Porter. Oh, he can't fight Danny Garcia. Oh, he can't fight Keith Thurman. It's because he doesn't want Terrence Bud Crawford to be further exposed. They want his ass to be fresh. Because he's aging like nobody's business. Motherfucker's 32. Didn't you understand in boxing 26 to 32 or 28 to 32 is your prime. Terrence Bud Crawford is going outside of his prime. This is why I don't understand why Bob Arum and this fuck don't toe the fucking line and say, hey, we're willing to take 25% or 35%. You do that shit, you're going to have to fucking fight. And what these classic dotes and these troglodytes, these Rudy Poo and these plum brains don't understand, these brain full of mush and brainwashed followers, is that there are two sides of the fucking street. It's called Al Haymon and Bob Arum. They have a torn relationship with one another. Their relationship was never the best to start with, but the shit got worse and worse ever since Bob Arum kids slide to the fucking mouth like the old car salesman he is, the shiesty motherfucker he is, and keep saying slide shit to the mouth about Al Haymon. That doesn't help. These are the guys that make the fight happen, not these fighters. Let me say it again. These are the guys that make the fight happen, not these fighters. You brain full of mush and you brainwashed dodo head. So there are two sides of the street. It's called two promoters. You have two promotional companies. That's two sides of the street. Let me say it again. You have two promotional companies. That's two sides of the street. That's me giving you stating the most commonest sense and stating the most obvious. Because remember, I have leagues and droves of common sense here. This is what Errol the True Spence said when he said you on the other side of the block, the other side of the street. Clean your fucking side of the street up while I do mine. Errol the True Spence was trying to tell this motherfucker do some heavyweight lifting because that's what the fuck I'm doing. But Terrence Bud Crawford is not doing that. When you're sitting here and in December, your fucking fighter is a Marvel character, green, mean machine. Let me say it again. A Marvel character, green, mean machine. And not even a elite Marvel character. Matter of fact, I did Incredible Hulk disservice. He's fighting fucking Ant-Man or some shit like that. I keeps the foot on the what? On the next. I keeps the foot on the what? On the next. Like the Tibetan mastiff that I am. I apply what? Unlimited pressure. Because pressure does what? It busts his fucking pipes. This is what he's been regressed and reduced to. Because him and Bomac, them Negroes don't know how to count their money and they decide to resign. So it's not really about, oh, Terrence Bud Crawford's dunking, Errol the True Spence is dunking Terrence Bud Crawford. The narrative is Terrence Bud Crawford is ducking Errol the True Spence because if he really wanted that free smoke, he would have signed with PBC. Manny Pacquiao did it. Mikey Garcia. We have intel on latest ex-top rank employees that are now with PBC, and look what they're getting. Not only are they getting paid, they're getting the fights that they want because they understand what is called business 101. That you go where the money is at. Let me say it again. They understand what business 101 is. You go where the fucking money is at. Terrence Bud Crawford has priced himself out. He's a disgruntled, aging fighter that's clearly, you know how you have food that's expiring on the fucking shelf? That's Terrence Bud Crawford. He's eventually going to expire on the fucking shelf. And if he wants this fight, him and Bob Arum needs to toe the fucking line. Let me say it again. If he wants this fight, him and Bob Arum needs to toe the fucking line. There's a hierarchy to this shit. Chain of command, like Meek Mill said, there's levels to this shit. Errol the True Spence is the level. Big fish take little fish. Let me say it again. Big fish take little fish. He's the big fish. Terrence Bud Crawford is the guppy. Act like the fucking guppy you are. Your promoter needs to know his role and know his fucking place, and the fight will happen at the end of 2020. Otherwise, this fight is never going to fucking happen, and boxing fans are not going to get this fight. Not because of Errol the True Spence is supposedly ducking Terrence Bud Crawford. It's because Bob Arum doesn't know his fucking place and know his damn role. This is He Knows the Sport. Checking out.